Welcome back, part two. We're now going to talk about how do you write a book? How do you plot it? How do you know how long it's going to be and chapter length? Tell us all.
Well, the way that I did it was I had my Word document open that I was using to write the book. I opened another Word document and I created a table. And so into that table I wrote chapter one, page one, and then when the chapter was finished I went back to that and I wrote the number of the page that we were on at the end of at the end of the chapter. I then put in the next section the basics of that chapter, the basic contents, very, very proceed, a few lines of what it was about, and also the key characters, who was in that scene. That chapter is a scene, who was in it, and then I went on to the next one. Now this really helped me to keep a continuity and a flow. I added in another column a little bit along, thinking, right, what time of year are we in, right? And we're talking about that it's February, so I made a note there because I'd referred to her having a tan. And I thought, what's she doing with a tan in February? So then I had to go back to that part and add in a bit where they'd gone on holiday, yeah, to make it make sense. So I realised that actually the time, as I was writing it, the time flow of the seasons and the months were really important. And when I was using description about the late summer sun, make sure we're not talking about Christmas when we're talking about that. So being able to do that, so I'm seeing that chapter one, I'm in February. And as it progresses, for example, in the second book, I've got a pregnant, and I'm thinking, right, I need 90, I need 40 weeks. And when did she get pregnant? Right, end of June. That means the babies are going to be due in March, and then plotting it through so that when I'm talking about Christmas, I can say she's 6 months pregnant because my timeline is working out right. So this table for me was crucial. So that I could follow that plot, and it also helps you to see where the holes are, where the gaps are. Like I said, when I went back to edit it and realised I'm talking about her tan in February, and I haven't said why she's got a tan, so it's a really good check back system as well.
Over how long is the story set?
The story set about 18 months, so the beginning to the end is about 18 months. And it's the progress of she surrenders to Clarabelle's help within about a month of the book starting. So the first couple of chapters are sort of showing her life being chaos, then she surrenders. The rest of the book is about her life getting better and better and better, and that by the end everything's come together, a happy ever after. Yeah. But it's the journey of getting from A to B that is the important thing, with its ups and downs.
Do you always do everything in chronological order, or do you have kind of flashback chapters so that the reader doesn't quite know what order this is going in?
No, it was all in order.
In chronological.
Yeah, but what I did was I broke up each chapter with scenes in a different location with different people, so that one chapter wasn't just about one storyline here, so that it was dipping in and out. So I would have it from Sarah's perspective, and then I would have the next paragraph, and I put some stars there to delineate this is a different place at a different time now. And the next scene would be Clarabelle having a meeting up on cloud 322 with the senior angels, pulling her hair out, saying I don't know what to do with her. And then we'd go back to Sarah, so it was kind of dipping in and out, and I felt that worked. It gave it more interest. Oh, where are we now? Oh, we're up in the angelic realms and Clarabelle's in trouble and having a meeting with the bosses. Oh, now we're back on Earth with Sarah. So it's kind of using that shift, but yes, it kept plodding through week by week, month by month, getting her to the ultimate goal, which was her life sorted.
How do you keep track of the flow of what's happening? How do you keep the action moving on?
I think it's important to keep the tension. So we need something to be tense about. Is it going to happen? Isn't going to happen? Because if the reader knows just from reading the synopsis, this is going to have a happy ending. What I need them to know is to wonder about how does she get there? How does that all happen? How does she go from being such a mess to being perfectly blissfully happy? So I had to have some tension in there. So we've also got a romance in there, a major romance. This is her soulmate that has been waiting to come in for the best part of 5 years, but she hasn't been ready. And so I brought some tension into that about he's just about ready to give it up and go off and marry somebody else. And so that was the tension part that I used. So again, between chapters, I'm flitting from her, and onto him, and he is getting so bored where he is, and he's so ready to move on, and the angels are trying to keep him stuck until she's ready. So we've got the tension building up there. So that was my plot line, and every time we get to the point where, you know, he's nearly ready, she stuffs up again, and they have to hold him back, and his angels are pulling their hair out because he's had enough, and they can't hold him back for much longer, and it's all going to go wrong, and they're all going to get in trouble. So that's another tension line then, about the angels getting in trouble for not doing their job. So she should have surrendered by now. What are you doing wrong? You know, so Clarabelle's worried about getting sacked. So there's another tension line. So you're constantly looking at where you can bring in the tension to keep the reader wanting to find out what's going to happen next, and is it going to be okay? But I've also got a lot of humour in there. So I'm bringing in really crazy stuff as well, and funny stuff, and complete disasters, and everybody getting in trouble, the humans and the angels, because of things going wrong. And things do go wrong in life, and when things go wrong, one of the things I try and help my clients with, and I certainly do for myself, is see the humour in everything, see the synchronicity, see everything happens for a reason. Okay, it might be an absolute disaster, but there's something better for you ahead. So find the humour in even the most disastrous things, and it's a good lesson to adopt, you know. So that's what I brought in. Even amongst the disasters, it's funny.
Are these characters going to come back in another book?
Yeah, they're in the second book, which is coming out next week, and the second book picks up where the first one finishes. So the first book finishes with her soulmate, the wedding, all happy, all wonderful, and she's pregnant. That's where the first one finishes. The second one picks it up. So we've brought in then the developing story of their relationship, and her having to tell her husband that she's got this guardian angel that she can see and talk to, and that he's going to think she's completely potty and lock her up, and why she has to tell him, and what is the significance in that. And then another tension line, and another romance, and so a quite significant romance that shouldn't be allowed, so a forbidden love, and then the tension around that. So there's all the threads carry on. And we bring in a new character in the next book as well. So we're introducing Fred in the next book. I love Fred. Fred is amazing. Fred's a dog. Fred's a golden retriever puppy that Simon brings in, the soulmate Simon brings in, to be able to have an excuse to get away from the pregnant wife with her hormones raging. So whenever she's getting really difficult, he's got to walk the dog. So he went and bought a dog. So Fred is the comedy element, and you know, he's quite strong. And by the end of book 2, it's really established. We've moved forward another 18 months, and I'm planning on this being a series of probably 4 or 5 books. So yeah, I can see the thread, depending if the readers want more. At the moment, they're wanting more, so I'll keep delivering.
Will Fred get his own spin-off?
Oh, Fred is definitely a force to be reckoned with. So yeah, there's only one person who's read the second book, apart from my editor, and she's like, you've got to just keep Fred going. Fred is the star. Fred's the star of book 2. So
when you're putting these stories together, is it drawn from experiences from your own life, from other people? Is it purely made up? What are your influences in terms of?
It's all drawn from my experience, either directly or indirectly. So I've had dogs all my life. I've had cats all my life, and I won't say which is direct experience and which is indirect,
to protect the innocent.
To protect the innocent, but yeah, everything in there I've written about is very real. And interestingly, a couple of people who were proofing it said to me, you need to tone it down, it's too unrealistic. And I laughed because I had already toned it down. It was far worse than that. So yeah, no, it's all realistic and based on characters I've either been involved with directly or indirectly.
What age is this aimed at?
Initially when I wrote it, I mean, Sarah's 37, so I kind of wrote it aiming at 30s and 40-year-old females. However, it's I've had lots of men say to me, surprisingly, I love the book. and I didn't expect men to read it at all, so I thought it was a women's book, but I'm being told no, because you've got Simon, a male character, and everything else, and there's male angels, and that really this is an open genre to male or female, and certainly in the second book it's much more not necessarily aimed at women. Can't remember the question.
Okay, let's close that down. What I'm going to do is let's move on to characters and character development.
Yeah.
How do you build a character that is believable, that's that we were rooting for or we're rooting against? How do you make that happen?
I think it's about getting in their head. So whether I'm talking about a dog, and I'm talking from the dog's perspective about how would the dog view this? What would the dog be thinking in this situation? Like when Fred gets castrated at 6 months old, or what is his take on that? I'll tell you, he isn't very happy. So he's disgusted with mum and dad for putting him through this and taking him down to Terry the Terribles at the vets and massacring him. So it's about what would a dog think in that situation, whether it's a dog or whether it's an angel. An angel would be innocent, naive, you know, not really getting the stuff that the humans think. And when you're talking about Sarah, I wanted Sarah to be likeable, believable. I don't want us to feel sorry for her. We're going to feel a little bit frustrated with her, but we're totally going to relate to her because we've all been there. We've all been told what to do and we don't listen. We've all got it wrong. And having an angel nagging you constantly on your shoulder, going, no dear, don't do it like this, do it like this. It's almost the nagging mother, but toned into a different kind of therapy way, a very gentle way from the angel. And the angel sort of huffing and puffing and getting fed up with her. And Sarah just like, leave me alone, get off my back. I'm having a bad day, so I'm allowed a bad day. Stop trying to cheer me up constantly. So it's about getting in their head and saying, how would they really relate to this? You know, the book starts with her being dumped by another boyfriend that she really thought was going to go somewhere. They've been together 6 months, they've talked about moving in, and then when it came to actually happening, he's done a runner and she's got burnt yet again. It's like I've certainly been there, and I think men and women have been there, where they thought something was going to develop and it didn't, and you kind of feel really stupid. I got it wrong, why didn't I see it coming, what's the matter with me? But it's part of that learning, isn't it? It's part of that growth. But when I'm talking about Sarah, I wanted her to be likeable and believable. So we make her not perfect, but we make her fun. But also, she's not desperate. She's not pathetic. She's just a normal girl who keeps going wrong, you know?
Do you ever get sick of any of the characters?
No, I love them. I love these people. They're everything. And I've got a couple of baddies in each of the books. You have the baddie. You know, you've got to have the villain who's going to try and stuff it up. So you know, just as we're getting Sarah where she wants to be, the villain's going to come in and try and wreck it. And then again, is another tension flow. You know, another tension thread to pull in about no, that can't happen. Don't let that happen. And it seems to have worked, of bringing in that bit. And I learned that actually from some of the feedback when I first tried to get published. So I sent out my manuscript to a zillion publishers, and I had loads of just ignore you, as they do, but I also had quite a few decline it and say it hasn't got enough tension, it hasn't got enough page turning thing. So I looked at it again. I thought, how can I make this more tense? How can I get people? And that's when I thought, right, I need a villain, I need this, I need that, I need to expand that. There's some funny bits, make them funnier. There's some sad bits, make them sadder, you know. And it's, to me, a good book, for me personally, a good book draws me in, holds me there, keeps me there. And the way it does that is it tugs on every emotion that I've got. You know, it will make me laugh one minute, it'll make me cry the next, it'll make me angry the next minute, frustrated the next minute, confused the next minute. When I'm feeling all my strings being pulled, I've got to keep reading to find out what's going to happen, and for it to be, you know, for you to know what the end is, you've got to keep going. So that's what I wanted to do with my book, is tug on as many different emotions as I could.
Okay, thanks for that. Next piece, we're going to go into how you got published.